Frequency, Chapter 6, Part 3. She swallowed the lump in her throat and stood back, shivering in the cold night air. Flash approached the window and rapped gently on the glass. It took him 3 tries to catch the attention of the nearest guard, who approached with a miffed frown. The guard, an older Thestral, pushed open the window and peered at the two of them with shining yellow eyes.
"What's all this, then?"
Flash spoke with firmness, his manner entirely professional.
"I have a message for the princess, if I may be allowed."
The guard considered him, then Vinyl. He huffed and glanced back at the unaware princess.
You taking responsibility? 'Cause I sure as starters ain't.
"Yes, I'll take responsibility."
The answer came without hesitation, which made Vinyl's ears perk. She quietly wondered what taking responsibility entailed in this instance. Judging by the way the guard's eyebrows rose, it couldn't be a small matter. She wanted to thank Flash by her expression, but he didn't look back. The guard stood aside. Flash waved a wing in Vinyl's direction, and she followed in a low stance. The guard eyed her, but she was too nervous to say anything other than a feeble
Thank you.
The throne room wasn't as huge as Vinyl had expected, but it was still significant. The area was lit only by dim blue torches, giving the entire throne room an eerie atmosphere. Princess Luna's mane sparkled in the gloom, her piercing focus set upon a noble pony who, by his constant fidgeting and occasional stutter, seemed to think his issue wasn't as important as he had originally believed. However, for the most part, the throne room was empty. Flash turned his head and spoke without looking at Vinyl.
"Wait here."
He started to walk, but paused and turned his head again.
"Don't worry, I hear she's not as mean as she looks."
Vinyl sat and held the radio to her chest, with ears low. She watched as Flash stealthily moved along the wall, going behind a few guards who gave him looks varying from bored to curious and to threatening. He took it all in stride, keeping his head held high and his gait firm. Vinyl had to acknowledge being impressed. Stepping up to the side of the bat pony closest to the princess, he whispered in the guard's ear. She glanced at him before nodding and stepping back. With no more obstacles, Flash moved in and leaned just over the arm of the throne. Vinyl could see him whisper something. Princess Luna's reaction was only the faintest shift in her hard eyes. Vinyl could feel her heart pounding as Flash continued to speak.
Come on, come on.
She let out a whimper as the princess, her head immobile, looked in her direction. Though her stiff body language suggested her focus was on the noble pony, Vinyl had the sensation that the alicorn's whole attention had been suddenly set upon her. It wasn't a good sensation. Princess Luna raised her hoof, and the noble pony stopped speaking. She whispered to Flash, not once losing her harsh demeanor. Though a few more words were exchanged, the throne room had grown unnervingly quiet. At last she waved a hoof, and Flash stepped away with his head bowed. The princess turned her eyes back to the noble pony and lowered her hoof. When she spoke, her words were as cold as her expression.
Thank you, Sir Needlepoint, for your opinion, but I am afraid a new matter has arisen that I should see to promptly. If you would write for me a report summarizing all you have told me and concluding your intentions, I promise that I or my sister will address your concerns as promptly as possible. I should take this opportunity to point out that thus far I am not swayed, so I suggest you word your arguments very carefully.
The noble pony bowed and fled the court, as if the princess were firing magic beams at his flank. Princess Luna shook her head as the door closed, her stony demeanor melting.
Archimedes, tea, if you please.
One of the bat ponies at her side nodded.
Diamond flower shoreline?
The princess nodded.
This night most certainly calls for it.
As the guard departed at a trot, Luna glanced towards Vinyl, who flinched.
Well, come on. You went through all this trouble to cut in line. You might as well make your request.
Sucking in a deep breath, Vinyl made her way to the front of the throne on hooves made of jelly. Flash, still standing near the princess, gave her a firm nod, which she returned with far less confidence. Princess Luna studied Vinyl, her manner firm, but lacking the harshness from before.
What is your name? Vinyl Scratch, your highness.
She was at last before the throne, and promptly dropped into as deep a bow as she could manage.
I'm very sorry for barging in like this, but I have something really important to say. If I had a bid for every time I heard that, Miss Scratch, Equestria would not need a budgeting office.
Vinyl grimaced but held her tongue. She sat up and set her radio down between them.
It's a matter of life and death. My friend is in trouble and I need your help to save her.
Princess Luna's eyebrows rose.
That sounds serious indeed. Do explain.
Vinyl raised the radio with her magic so that it would be clearly visible. Vinyl began making her case.
A few weeks ago, I stumbled upon a transmission on this two-way radio. The pony I heard was on the verge of committing suicide. I have been speaking with her every day since then, trying to determine why. She hasn't opened up to me, but I'm convinced that she's in very serious trouble.
The princess set a hoof to her chin as she studied the device.
Go on.
Licking her lips, Vinyl glanced at Flash. What she was about to say would sound ridiculous, but still, she swallowed her anxiety and spoke up.
The pony's name is Addie, and she claims to be from...
Her cheeks started to burn.
from outer space.
For a second time, Princess Luna's eyebrows rose. However, rather than the dubiousness Vinyl expected, the alicorn seemed curious. This gave her the courage to hurry through the rest of her explanation.
I believe that the best way to make her open up to me and reveal what's really going on is to directly disprove her story. My original appointment with you was to ask if there was some way to do that. Yet now I find that I've lost communication with Addie. It's like she's not on the airwaves at all.
Vinyl tapped the radio for emphasis.
Princess Luna, the frequency we were using to talk to one another has been taken over by a new protected radio station. I need to get the station to change frequencies so I can talk to Addie again. I see.
The princess leaned forward.
And you want me to just order this radio station to change frequencies?
Vinyl nodded frantically.
Any other way is too slow. My friend, she's scared of being alone. Terrified. I'm afraid she'll do something drastic if she doesn't hear from me soon. Please, Princess. I can't let her die.
Princess Luna tilted her head with a solemn frown.
I would ask why you have not tried other frequencies, but surely you would not be here if you had not tried that already. I've tried every single frequency I can.
Vinyl shook the radio at her.
I don't know why I can't find her. She must be on the same frequency as before, yet I can't find out unless I get past the fucking radio station.
Some of the guards cast wary glances at one another at her swear, and Flash face-oved. Yet if the princess were offended, she made no sign of it. She sat back and tapped her hooves together while studying Vinyl with a thoughtful expression.
Let us say I did as you ask, and your friend is there. What exactly do you expect me to do then?
Vinyl paused to gather her thoughts. She'd had plenty of time to think on the subject.
You can prove her story is false. All you have to do is determine that the radio frequency isn't coming from the sky. That alone will solidly disprove her story and force her to acknowledge whatever trouble she's really in. You're mistaken.
Princess Luna replied curtly.
If she truly believes what she says, it will take more than my word to convince her. After all, to you, I am a princess. But to your friend, I will be merely another voice on the radio. It won't be like that!
Vinyl shook her head frantically.
She'll believe you, I know she will. Suppose your friend is merely insane.
The princess pressed.
You would be wasting my time. She's not insane!
Vinyl jumped forward and glared at the diarch. Neither the princess nor her guards flinched.
I came here looking for help, and you insult my friend. She could be tying a fucking noose around her neck as we speak. You're the one wasting my time!
She stomped and snorted steam.
If you won't do it, just say so and I'll find some pony else who will.
Vinyl made to leave, but came to an abrupt stop as she felt the radio pulled out of her magical grip. She turned around to see the device floating towards the throne.
Hey, give that back!
Princess Luna ignored her and took the radio in her hooves. She examined it from all angles.
This is an old device. How is it no pony else has spoken to your friend? Surely others must be able to reach the same frequency.
Vinyl's anger faded to a small hum in the back of her mind.
I really don't know. And why would she only answer to one frequency?
The princess cast a raised eyebrow at Vinyl's way.
Are you sure she did not simply go on vacation? And go where?
Vinyl shook her head as the fire came back.
She's spoken to me every day for 4 weeks. Why would she go somewhere and not tell me? Or something happened to incapacitate her. Like a straitjacket.
A ball of ice formed in Vinyl's chest, knocking the air out of her. She sat and bowed her head, legs shaking.
You are a cruel mare princess. Please.
She rubbed her eyes and looked up.
Give it back. I'll go and find some other pony to help me. I hope Addie isn't dead by then.
Princess Luna didn't answer for a time, instead continuing her study of the radio. After a few seconds, she asked,
What is the name of the radio station in question? What?
Vinyl blinked and cocked her head.
Cats, too.
The Bat Pony guard who had left earlier now appeared at Princess Luna's side with a steaming cup of tea. The alicorn set the radio on the arm of the throne and took the tea in her magic, taking a dainty sip.
Archimedes, I want you to find the producer of the local radio station, Cats 2. Tell them I wish to have a meeting as soon as possible about a temporary break in their service.
Vinyl's jaw almost hit the floor.
You mean you'll do it?
Princess Luna nodded with a smile.
I find your conviction for a friend refreshing. There are many ways you could have approached this situation, arguably better ones. But you took a risk and came straight to me. I admire that. Besides,
She added with a grimace.
This will be far more interesting than my usual night.
It took Vinyl several seconds to fully grasp what was happening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh,
She ran her hoof in circles on the marble floor.
and, sorry I shouted and all that. Do not be.
The princess' smile grew warm.
I'm glad to finally meet somebody who will be upfront with me.
She took another sip of her tea.
Now then, it will take some time to make arrangements with the station, and I will need to be briefed on the technology. I must acknowledge I am not as versed in it as I would like for the situation. Do you live far from the castle, Miss Scratch?
Vinyl stared at Luna for a couple of seconds before the exact question lodged in her brain.
It's in the lower levels, Princess.
She blushed and devoted herself to studying her hooves.
Well, I will not have you going all that way just to come right back. First Lieutenant Sentry.
Flash stepped forward and saluted. Princess? She turned her smile on him.
I believe there is room in the barracks to let Miss Scratch have some rest, yes? Escort her there. I will send for you both when I'm ready to proceed, which I will imagine will be sometime in the morning.
She turned back to Vinyl.
Will that suit you, Miss Scratch? Of course!
She bowed deep once more.
Thank you again, Your Highness. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Dismissed.
Flash nudged Vinyl, prompting her to stand and head for the doors. As soon as they closed, Flash let out a long sigh. I can't believe she said yes. He was tackled to the floor, Vinyl rubbing cheeks with him once they landed. Hey, let me go before someone thinks you really are after my tail.
Too late for that.
The guard by the door grumbled. Upon hearing him, Vinyl leapt off Flash with her face as hot as dragon's fire. Great. Flash climbed to his hooves. Now the entire castle's gonna be taunting me about it by morning.
Oh, woe is you!
The guard said, rolling his eyes.
It must be stressful being a pretty colt. Oh, thanks Celestia, the majority of us were born ugly. Clearly we are blessed.
Flash gave an exaggerated breath before grabbing Vinyl by the leg. Come on, let's go before things get worse.
Sorry,
she mumbled as he led her through the halls. Flash held his head low and maintained a bitter scowl. Forget it. They've been teasing me about the same crap ever since I signed up to be a guard. Vinyl considered this, glancing back at the throne room door just as they turned a corner.
Do you really have a bunch of mares chasing your tail like they say?
The resulting groan echoed through the hall. 3, okay, there were just 3 mares, and I broke up with each one of them ages ago. It's not my fault they turned out to be possessive nutcases.
Uh-huh.
Vinyl glanced about to ensure no pony was around before moving close.
Well, I don't want to look like some starry-eyed fanfilly, but since you risked so much for me...
She pressed the top of her muzzle beneath his jaw.
Thank you.
He came to a pause, not saying anything until she stepped back to find him staring wide-eyed at her. His lips curled in a dopey lopsided smile.
You're welcome.
Vinyl snickered and whacked his shoulder.
Come on, Bullbutt! You're supposed to be showing me to a room! Note, a room, not your room.
I wasn't thinking that!
Oh, sure.
She chuckled at his red-faced glare, but quickly sobered as they rounded the next corner.
I hope the princess works fast. Every second feels like a second too long, you know?
He sighed and nodded.
Don't worry, Vinyl. I'm sure the princess will work as fast as she can under the circumstances.
She glanced at him and chewed her lip.
This means a lot to me, Flash. I was really worried.
He examined her before setting a hoof to her shoulder.
I know, Vinyl. Maddie will be okay. I'm sure of it.
They're really warming up to each other, and next thing you know, they might get married. Anyway, let's get on to our lovable donators. Top donators are 630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, IronSky, and Jessie Smith. Magic109, JockeTF, Darkseid, Rayden, Narwhals, Black Moon, Pastel Skies, Austin Rollins, Stu Hex, Brother Mortar, Nomicon Library, Winside 9852, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Rice, Hole, Shadowman, Luigi 88, Chance Request, Big Smoke 369, Bobcat, JJF, Murder Princess, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.